Hello, I'm Ms. Lemling of Finextra, and we're here at EBADay in Helsinki, and we've gathered for you a bit of a motley crew here to talk about the future of banking and whether or not it has a future. So, Andrew, I'm going to start with you. You gave a keynote challenger speech yesterday here at EBADay that made quite an impression on our very staid, dark-suited audience. In fact, you were mentioned over and over again in the sessions throughout the day. And you made a few statements such as, banks were audacious to think that some of their products and services they came out with were innovative. And I think you also made a comment that a lot of banks don't actually give a shit at times. So my question to you is, were you, since you were on stage as the challenger, were you deliberately trying to be provocative, or is there more of a middle ground in real life that we can all get along?
Well, clearly I was trying to be provocative, hence the challenge speaker title. But actually, personally, I believe that banks need to think about who they are and what they do more. So most banks have gone through some period over the last 10 years of believing they're going to be a global behemoth through acquisitions, investments in different things outside of core banking. And a lot of them are stripping that back now to being one thing or having some focus on what they actually want to be. And I think that's the future. I think understanding who you are, what your core product is, and I mentioned yesterday in the speech about, what is your Lego block? What is the thing that you are going to contribute to the future building of financial services? Not trying to say that we will own all of financial services, which is probably where they were 5 to 10 years ago, 5 to 8 years ago. So I think I was kind of threatening the banks to think differently about how they should go about building the future. Their future organisation, understanding what their core capability is, that Lego block. And that may be a dumb pipe, as I said to a number of people walking around yesterday. You don't have to be prominently digital, as in at the forefront of the customer experience. Every bank says they want to be great at customer experience. None of them are. So why try and aspire to be something that you're not? If you're great at actually utility processing or connectivity to the market or providing products and services which are fantastic, be fantastic at it. Focus your investment and your attention at being the best of that. That is your Lego block. Don't say, I am going to be fantastic at customer experience and spend lots of money on a digital channel, when actually as a customer I don't particularly want all that investment from you. I want you to be great at giving me a mortgage or a banking product or a processing utility, etc. And I think that's the future. Banks just need to look at themselves in the mirror and work out what they want to be, and then direct their investment towards that, and let new technology, new firms become the R&D, become the kind of the future of their capabilities. You don't have to have all of the capabilities in-house. Look outside, see who can help you. And I don't mean the big traditional vendor software companies that are out there, because they're building on old technology, they're not innovating quick enough, and they got you in the problem that you're in today. So actually look at different approaches.
Okay, so we have two banks on the panel. We've got Deutsche Bank and RBS, but so Christian, I'm going to start with you. Some of the stuff that Andrew was talking about, do you take that as a threat or a challenge?
Well, there are aspects where I agree and aspects where I do not agree, and let me answer this in my personal capacity. So the areas where I think that we have to change is on the client experience side and on the IT innovation. I think that goes without saying. I think one thing that needs to be borne in mind is not that the banks are not doing anything at the moment. It's more than bankers also use Apple, use Twitter, all of these things, and we're also trying to get this into the products that we build. And one way to do this as a banking community is basically to hire people from Apple, to hire people from Facebook. All of this has happened in the past. But when I talk to these people that are now have like a year experience in a bank, they confirm to me that it's different coding, some Instagram file upload application or a banking application, because the level of security that you need to apply is not low, medium or high, it's paranoid. The level of regulation that you have to apply is not low, medium or high, it's paranoid. So I think it is just taking more time to get the banking specifics into the client experience. And that could be outside the bank, it could be inside the bank, but it has to go together with the bank. Where I fully agree with you is that we need to look at IT and technology differently. And that is something that we can learn from the so-called digital natives. Because I think in the banks, maybe in the last years, a lot of people looked at IT like, I mean, some people think of IT like these are the guys that I call when my desktop doesn't work. Or these are the guys that we're giving our specifications to and we want them to deliver this fast and with no money and all of this. But the reality is how we should engage with IT is that to get these guys on the table together with the businesses and all the existing functions in the bank and ask, how can you help to drive this business forward? And that is something that I think some banks are doing and other banks have to do, and therefore I think kind of a wake-up call that we heard from him earlier in this conference is absolutely necessary, although a lot of banks are already on the route. But given the specifics of the banking that I just alluded to, it's just a little bit different than Facebook.
Mm-hmm. So Vanessa, I'm going to go to you. So sort of looking into the future of what sort of form banks will take, you know, what do banks see when they look in the mirror and they envision that future?
Well, I think one of the aftermaths of the financial crisis is that you do see banks in the market at the moment reaffirming their core competences. It is not without, it is well known in the industry, everybody is reshaping their old investment banks, their commercial banks. Banks are an essential part of the fabric of society. They provide the funding for consumer aspirations. They power commerce, small business to large corporate, and support cash and trade flow globally. As such, they have an important, endemic role in society, but they are also looking, as regulation becomes more costly, looking in the mirror, looking for shareholder value, deciding what core competence we have, what role we play with our core franchises, customer franchises, and reshaping that. So I can say from an RBS perspective, under our new COO who's come in and said, I would like to simplify the operations of the RBS group. I want to shrink from 7 divisions and the fragmented multiple payment architectures, etc., that service consumers to corporates. I want to simplify it. If you are a customer, retail customer of ours, who grows in their aspiration to become an SME and ultimately, move into the commercial corporate environment, we should offer a similarity of service and experience in that journey for you. So as a bank, we have reviewed our core competences. We have refined our operating model to reflect the businesses we want to be in, and those businesses where we want to be great in.
So Bridget, you mentioned banks' wider role in society. How does that help the bank focus its mind on, as you said, its core competencies and the types of innovative products that you hope to deliver?
I think simplification towards our clients is a key element, not just because of the processing and the regulatory and compliance changes as a bank that we have to make. Our focus is, while we are investing in those mandatory statutory things that we are forced to invest in, that we want to make sure that we leverage that investment to provide value add. One of the things that struck me from your session yesterday was the word around innovation, and I see it appearing all over the sessions. And innovation, I would also challenge that is not just the creation of something new and shiny. Innovation is also in the eye of the beholder or the recipient of it. Our customers also tell us that innovation is not just that new shiny interface or the ability to self-create a nice report or have transactions on the go and real-time information. Innovation for many of our customers, whether they are consumers or corporates, is around making a tangible, provable improvement in how they work and quantifying and monetizing that for them. That is innovation as told to us by their customers as well. So, at a simple level, some of the solutions as a bank that we have rolled out have enabled our customers to be much more self-directed and less reliant on the bank. For example, for corporate customers, we've opened up our own global back office. rather than having customers tell us, well, I don't want to wait and interact and have a big paper trail of dealing with you as a bank. I just want to see what you see. We've opened our global back office and our score platforms so our customers can see directly and have that same information as our customer service representatives. What's the innovation in that? Well, the innovation in that is that we've eliminated, a paper trail and a time lag, and basically taken away the time, effort on our customer to spend time navigating the bank when they really want to be focusing on their own cash flow. That's an innovation, as told to us by our corporate customers, that is time saving and can be monetized in their view in terms of workflow efficiency and time spent on admin. So I think from our perspective, simplification, innovation is something, a hot topic. I haven't seen so much of it in the sessions, as if we haven't got real practical information. But with innovation, also I would like to say about mindset changes within a global organization. In the transaction services business, whether you're on the retail or corporate side, our time to market of solutions is ridiculously slow. And that is from the intensive investment funding, architecture considerations, etc., that a global organization would have to deal with, and fragmentation of architecture. But I think going forward you see the role of partnerships in terms of providing agility to large organizations, quickening our time to market for solutions in a more cost efficient way. That for a transaction services bank is a level of innovation because it requires a mindset change. We've all had self-build is the only build in town. And it takes quite an organizational mind shift to move into a partnered environment where we have to become more agile. It requires possibly a different architectural arrangement and organizational setup in a bank to allow that to happen. And it certainly requires the bank to be much more simple and standardized in its operations, to deploy any new agile solution via a partner or in-house if you want to do that, requires a standard set of kit for that to happen. You can't deploy, immediate payments, 24/7 payments in 15 locations in a swift and cost-efficient manner. You need a core platform by which you can deploy that change centrally, singularly, and respond to market developments for your customers at that time. So one of the things that we would hope to achieve in terms of working with regulators is to be a little bit more, as the bank's role is to do that, to be the voice and the advocate of our customers with the regulators, not just as an institution, is to accelerate the delivery of market impacting regulation and be firm with the timelines, not extend, and possibly have more shared architecture for market participants to connect to, rather than have every institution building their own. If you like, a common utility of architecture which would ensure consumer adoption and a standardized service across a market like the euro, rather than country by country.
So Nicole, we're going to end with you. You're going to bring us all back for a group hug. What future do banks have with everything, every trend that people talked about at the panel here? What future do they have?
I mean, I'm going to be left of center. I think it's a rosy picture in so much as there is certainly full acknowledgement that things have to change, right? And the change has begun. And I'm not of a banking background, but I see pockets of really profound activity that is tough to achieve, but it's starting to happen. It's a continuum. It's not, it's going to be a journey. I think one of the things that's going to really move the dial for the ecosystems that banks find themselves in is their ability to become increasingly open with how they interact internally. Being able to transition silos, that is tough in itself. Having commonality and goals internally between various structures within banks, but also really looking towards other ecosystems to help with the journey. I think the power balance between supplier and bank is changing. I mean, I come from a technology background, and most recently I ran a payment strategy for a software company, and actually the bank was my customer. And you know, for that was a very rewarding journey for both of us. We were both market making. You know, London is a fantastic place because we have a huge amount of energy fueling fintech, and whilst a lot of it is pretty noisy, it will consolidate. And you know, I think banks are beginning to. You need to absorb that innovation, right? If it's really truly new. And the paradigms of bringing kind of the startup world into institutional thinking is the challenge. Not the fact that there's creative ideas, it's how do we create the bridge between the two worlds. And I'm very encouraged. I think it's step by step, it's starting, the groundswell is there, everyone knows there's a time to market issue. We can't forget the customer, ultimately. But you know, many industries have gone through the same journey and the same evolution, and it can be done. So I remain supremely positive.